Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. Just when we all thought the SB-403, that was the caste discrimination bill, was done and dusted, the California's assemblymen and senators are hard at work, bringing another variation of that as if there is nothing else to do. This is my personal opinion. I have two guests joining me back today, Pushpita Prasadji and Sudha Jagannathan, both of CoHNA. Let's listen to them on what is really going on as far as this new bill, SB 509 is concerned. Namaskar, welcome to PGurus channel. How are you, Sudhaji? How are you, Pushpitaji?
Doing well. Thank you for inviting us. Thank you.
My pleasure, my pleasure. So, Pushpitaji, thanks for opening my eyes to this SB 509. This was something that was kind of doing the rounds about 6 months ago. I thought it wasn't going to pick up momentum and that it's just going to fall by. I mean, many bills do fall by the wayside, but looks like this one has picked up momentum. Again, viewers, my understanding isn't very clear on this. It looked like at the outset it's a waste of taxpayer money, or I should say another waste of taxpayers' money. But I want Pushpitaji to set the reference or context here. And Sudha Jagannathanji was there at the capital, Sacramento. She's going to give us the actual things that played out. First, Pushpitaji, namaskar, and tell us what is this SB 509 all about?
Yeah. Namaste, Shriji and Hat. Thanks for having us. So I'll get quickly into it. For the benefit of your viewers, this is a state bill, right? So this is our favorite state of California, our home state of California, at it again. So this is a new bill that was introduced in this legislative session for 2025. What you're referring to is actually a redo of a bill from last year that was introduced in the assembly, and that was called AB 3027. It was pretty much the same thing, and that one did die thanks to the effort of Hindu organizations like us and others. But unfortunately, as we know, the people who don't like Hindus never take a break, and so they are back with the bill in a new form, in a new avatar, and it has a new name, and it has it has differences from last year. I won't go into those differences. Let's just focus into what's the problem in the bill this year. So this year, the bill is now introduced in the Senate. That's why it's SB, Senate bill, just like F403 was in 2023. And it has a new sponsor in the Senate, and it has the same co-sponsor, Dr. Jasmeet Bains, who had introduced the Assembly Bill 3027 last year. And she was also the co-sponsor of our infamous SB 403 bill in 2023. But what does SB 509 talk about? It's another play on words. It sounds very innocuous. It says basically California's Office of Emergency Service needs to be trained on transnational repression. And I think that itself is a sort of red flag, so the transnational repression, what is a state doing on it? Because these are federal issues. If you're saying countries repress, and they might, that's something that federal bodies tackle, which was actually one of the fundamental problems with the bill last year. And then why is the state getting into federal issues? Why is the Office of Emergency Services in California getting into identifying what is transnational repression? It's a bizarre thing. These are sort of the people you'll call when your state has had an earthquake. California is right now recovering from, some of the worst wildfires that have devastated, everybody saw those images from SoCal just in January, February, right? And this is the agency that's responsible for all of that. So I don't know what their expertise really is. They're a very good agency, I suppose. They help you rebuild, identify, etc. What they have to do with transnational repression is bizarre. And why is the state spending millions of dollars at a time when California is in a huge budget deficit on chasing this problem? Is it a problem? Now, the bill itself references data from the FBI to make a case for transnational repression. Now, per their own data, I think there is only one case that they list in California, that doesn't pertain to India or Hindus at all. So again, it's a solution in search of a problem. At a time when California is grappling with deep homelessness, deep economic crisis, there's so much turmoil, this is what the legislators are choosing to focus on again. From the Hindu perspective, we are also thinking this is extremely insensitive because now for a second year running, California legislators are choosing to focus on what I call a ghost of a problem versus the real problem of Hindumphobia in the state. And that's not CoHNA saying it, right? That's their own data saying it. In 2024, California's hate hotline reported data which showed that hate against Hindus was the second most widely reported category in the religion category, second only to anti-Semitism and ahead of Islamophobia. And on top of that, as CoHNA has been well known, everybody knows, our temples are under attack. We have actually got a tracker on our website now. There's so many that I created a web page, and you can go to our web page, CoHNA.org, and it's right there, attacks on Hindus in the US. It's a shockingly long list, a lot of them in California, and 4 of them are temple vandalizations in 14 months. 4 temples vandalized in 14 months. I ask you, if this happened to any other community, would our legislature be sitting so blasé? So there's a lot more in that vein, but that's fundamentally the problem with this bill. And I'll let Sudhaji carry on.
Thank you so much. And Sudhaji, this was, I think, Tuesday. I think you had gone down to Sacramento, right? Talk to us a little bit about what happened this week. It could be Monday or Tuesday. I could be wrong. Just talk to us a little bit about what happened when you went to the capital city of Sacramento.
So the first hearing was on April 1st, which was a Tuesday in the Public Safety Committee, and they all voted for the bill. And then this past Tuesday, which was April 8th, a bunch of us went to Sacramento because we realized that we need to show up, right, and express our views in addition to writing to the committee. CoHNA has posted our opposition letter both in the public safety opposing the bill and in this second committee on governmental organization. It had 15 members, 11 Democrats, 4 Republicans. On it. So we had met with several of the committee members previous to our going out there and explained to them why we are concerned about the bill. And like Pushpita said, we talked about the vagueness of the words like proxies, not defined, like dissidents. Who would decide these terms, right? Who would decide if you're a proxy or a dissident or something like that? And then we had serious concerns in this bill about California asking to override Interpol's designation of terrorists. I mean, that scares the heck out of me. I mean, how would you want to live in a neighborhood where there are people who have been designated as terrorists by Interpol, and California says we are a sanctuary state and this person's record is clean? I mean, these are very vague and no explanation has been given. And we feel like the committee has really, not only the committee, the whole Senate and legislature is going down a path to establish the supremacy of California, I have to say, at the price to be paid are people like us. So the sponsor of the bill, of course, came up and spoke about it. It's Senator Caballero, okay, and she's the chair of the Appropriations Committee. Very powerful position. And I want to let you know, after the AB 3027 died in Appropriations Committee in Assembly last year, so Assemblywoman Jasmeet Bains went to Senator Caballero, who's the chair of Appropriations, and let her know that her people are suffering from this transnational repression. She's facing death threats, and that she needs protection. Okay, so Senator Caballero said this is a serious issue and this needs to be analyzed. So I have a multi-page, 11-page analysis of this bill that was presented in the committee on Tuesday. And it's really, as Pushpita said, it's asking the Office of Emergency Services to create a curriculum which will be implemented by an organization called POST. And I think they are peace officers organization. They are the ones to deliver the training. And this analysis, if you read, it's a mumbo jumbo of all sorts of things. Okay, there is a lot of demands in here that OES will identify how different tactics of TNR, governments that are known to employ this thing, who are they, and best practices for local and state law enforcement to prevent and assist in reporting. So we know that the sponsor staff told us when we met with her, there are no new crimes, and we drafted this based on FBI database of 20 TNR cases in the whole country with zero in California. Okay, so in my when I went there, we had Samir Khalra of HAF, myself, who were the main speakers on the opposing side. So when I mentioned the zero cases, what is California doing? So in her rebut, Senator Caballero used a tactic we saw used in SB 403. She said, "Oh, the reason we don't have any TNR reported here is because there is no law. The police don't know how to report it, and that's why we don't have any reports." Well, this is the same thing they said about caste SB 403 when we challenged and said, where is the proof of rampant caste abuse? Oh, that's because we don't have caste as a protected category that people can report against. Well, SB 403 and the caste thing, policies have been added by universities and companies for what, 4 years? And still no proof of any of this stuff. So this is what she said. And she said, diaspora communities need help. Well, we are diaspora communities, so we need help. Our temples are attacked. We talked about the temples attacked, and we said, Sacramento, a temple was attacked. In Chino Hills, the Big Babs temple, which is actually an earthquake safety shelter for the whole community, that was vandalized. So we are the victims. We need help. And I will say that here, that we are the victims of transnational repression by actors who might be proxies for other countries, right? Who those countries are, that needs to be investigated and established. But we are the victims. Nobody said anything about the temple. And Senator Aisha Wahab was on it. I want to be very clear. We had met with her to talk about the temple attacks when it happened in Fremont. And she had said, oh, I tweeted about it. This is not right, etc. She voted yes to the bill. This 509. Everybody voted yes to the bill, including Brian Jones and Megan Dahle, the Republicans who had abstained or voted no on SB 403. Because whose bill is this? The chair of the Appropriations Committee. Power and position counts. We are not in the positions of power and influence.
Thank you so much, Sudhaji. Today morning I was I think I was doing a show with General Ravi Shankar, and one of the questions that was asked was, how is it that such a small noisy minority is able to get so much for itself? We were talking about England, by the way, and I said that most expat Hindus are always, they are trying to put down roots, then they are working to further their careers, they bring their children up in a good way, provide for them, and then if there is time, they go for political dinners, have a picture taken, donate the money. That's about as much involvement they do with politics. Unfortunately, this is nowhere near what is needed, and I think that flaw of the Hindu mind is being brought forward. See, this is something that is across, it's vyapak, it's across the whole world. Anywhere Indians are going, they put their head down and they do what they think. They try to blend in, let me put it that way, and assimilate into the society. And here we see that blatantly people are ignoring some things, and also, first of all, this has got no bearing on day-to-day life. This is not a state matter, from what I understand. And you are trying to tell Interpol what they should Lenin termed this word useful idiots. I'm sorely tempted to change the word useful to irresponsible and use that to describe what are the lawmakers in California today, with the last word being the same. Because every time they see to think up something, it has no value to the average person. You are under $40 billion debt. And then the only thing you know what to do is to hike up interest rates, hike up insurances for those who are very healthy, by the way, who have very excellent driving records, and then pass these flippant bills. I mean, why don't you send you a pet instead? That can do a better job. I'm sorry to say this thing. Pushpita ji, where do we go from here?
So I think kind of kind of the same thing, right? Education and action. So I think problem again is, like you mentioned, the problems of the community, the problems of reaching out to the community, and then the problems of the community wanting to understand what's going on. So these bills are all very innocuously worded. So the first reaction is, oh, why are you opposing it? How does this matter? Well, we've answered those questions. I sent you a quick page that we have put up. It's called CoHNA.org/SB-509. And exactly that, we're trying to help you understand why this is a problem. SB-403 should remind us that a lot of danger can happen under the veneer of vague or innocuous or even benign sounding words, right? So words are, and fundamentally why we are comparing 509 to 403 is that it's using a different set of words, a different set of concepts, but the thought is the same, that the state of California is saying some communities are deserving of more privilege than other communities. That is fundamentally wrong, right? If somebody does something wrong, I do something wrong, I need to be prosecuted by the state. That's fine. But I shouldn't be prosecuted and said, well, what community does she come from? This community, oh, well, let's give a less. And if this community, let's heighten it up a bit more. That is fundamentally wrong. Equality before the law is really important. So this whole attitude of some of us are dissidents and they need extra protection, some of us are proxies and they need extra harshness, that is fundamentally inequality. And if people don't care about Hindus or temples or anything else, they all need to care about equality before law. Because once that principle of equality before law, before institutions is lost, things can go haywire, as ancient history, recent history, and even the recent years have shown. So this is for Hindus and Indian origin, but honestly, it's for anybody who comes from an immigrant heavy community, because your country could be the next one that becomes controversial. Are you going to disown your heritage to be seen as not a proxy, right? And what is the guarantee that the next time Sudhaji and I go begging our lawmakers for help on our temples, we will not be called proxies of India? Because all the attacks on the temples have been under the aegis of anti-India speech, right? So it's a very convenient veneer where temples are attacked using anti-India slogans, but only temples are attacked. And I have, at her hearing, Senator talked about patterns of recognition. And I said, well, isn't there a pattern in the fact that 5 temples have been attacked, if 5 across the country, 4 in California, if people wonder why the difference. So 5 temples have been attacked in the US and many, many more in Canada with the same pattern, anti-India, anti-Modi slogans. But why only temples, right? If this is an anti-India issue, there should be attacks on everything Indian, but the attacks are only on temples, which means there's a pattern of using anti-India and political speech to drive religious hatred. And that's why this bill needs to be opposed. We have a website up and we have already launched a campaign letter. If you're a California resident, please take a minute to send the email. Call and educate yourself. If you're not a California resident, find California people in your network and ask them to take action. Sudhaji, anything to add there, please?
No,
Yes.
I think Hindus need to wake up. I'll tell you why. They might say, "Oh, let's pick our battles. This is not as big as 403." I say wrong. This is a building block. This is a Lego system that gets built up to a point where the narrative is built that Hindus are undesirable members of society. I want to bring a comparison to what happened in Second World War. The Jews were very complacent in Germany. They thought they were safe because they were productive people. They had good relations, everywhere. They thought no harm would come to them. But the narrative built against them. Same thing, a narrative is building against us in Canada and in the United States by the same people who are committing violence on us in both countries, on temples, on people, and calls by the leader of a group deemed as terrorists by India, okay, a foreign country, but they live here, and they have demanded that Hindu Americans leave the country, right? I mean, what right do they have to say that? But they say that and get away with it with no action. And about the temple, I want to point out something. All the senator, one of the senators, I want to call her out. She was very gracious to come out of committee when I was coming out, because we had met with her office several times. Her constituent is a CoHNA leader. So she came out and she said, I voted yes because it's just a training bill. And I told her, Senator, for you it's just a training bill, but for us it's a Khalistani bill. It is a bill supporting people who have committed violence on us. And this is why there is a lack of trust between the Hindu community like us and the California legislature. You don't invite our input, especially after 3027 was died in assembly last year. You never reached out to any mainstream Hindu organization. Not you, the author did not. And this senator was very shocked. She said, that's not how I do things. So we are going to continue to work with her and others, and say, this is not just training. This is getting the fox to guard the chicken coop, and we are the chicken. We are not going to have any heads by the time the fox is done with this. This is why we are really worried and scared about what is happening and why California is doing it. Just one more thing. California governor last year praised us to the skies. Indian Americans, wonderful citizens and wonderful members of society. Individually, senators and assemblymen have complimented us. They then turn around and act against us, trying to paint us as, as castists, oppressors, rapists, murderers, and now repressors. Right? I mean, how? I just don't understand. Is it schizophrenia or what? But something is not right with the legislature, and they don't understand this problem at all. But I'll tell you, this bill is going into the Appropriations Committee on the 21st. And the author, the sponsor of the bill, is the chair of the bill. We expect this to pass also. And just to point out, official supporters are just 3. Okay, and official opposing is about 11 or 12. But it doesn't matter. There is more opposition than support. They still pass the bill. So how is this democracy? Where is the voice of the people?
And I think that, and I just want to say that is actually the call to action. I don't think our community really understands democracy is more than just voting, right? And that's kind of the reason d'etre CoHNA was formed. It's about advocacy. You need to be known to your lawmakers. And that's not just for a selfie for your social media, which is unfortunately the extent of political activism for a lot of Hindus. You need to be knowing, and they need to be knowing your concerns. And you need to be, and this is, by the way, if you look at the situation, I always say, California, we should look at what's happening in Canada, right? So why is training so important, right? Accurate training is really important because training that is not designed well can be weaponized against communities. And we're already seeing the problems in Canada, right? There was a lot of news last year about different issues of policing and the violence around temples accelerating to a point where we saw those medieval temple invasions. I mean, really, people need to open up their eyes and see that ignoring a problem doesn't make it go away. So as a community, we have to take the time out. We have to prioritize. Yes, I know it's not fun. Going to Sacramento, sitting in these hearings, it's boring, and reading all these laws and which senator does what. I mean, we all have more fun things to do in our life than go to Sacramento or call our senators or call our lawmakers. But your safety and security should really come before anything else. And I think the community needs to realize that this is a country built on advocacy. And if you decide to keep quiet, others are speaking up for you and creating an atmosphere that will not work well for you.
Thank you so much. And viewers, this is just the beginning. Unfortunately, it is following the same pattern as what SB-403 did. And there's a lot of work that's cut out for all of us. So I would request you to take a look at the call to action and please send in the letter to your local assemblyman, local senator, and make them know that this is something else, that it is not what it seems to be, and that they need to understand a little bit more about the background and why you are afraid. This is another attempt at Hindumphobia. I'm going to put the title as Hindumphobia. That's how I see it. So you prove me wrong. So I'm sorry. I mean, my blood is boiling, because one would think that having been slapped once, that these people will stop being irresponsible. So this is where I would like to leave this thing. Viewers, please support this is if you are living in United States, you want to do it, because some of these frivolous things will find their way to other states also. And don't just say, oh, it doesn't concern me because I'm not living in California. Please do go through this. These are all sneaky things, and these people don't deserve to be getting our vote. Unfortunately, we are not in a majority here that we can vote them out of office. At least we should make as much noise as possible, raise the issue, make people understand where things are, what the real issues are. Thank you so much, Sudhaji. Thank you so much, Pushpitaji. And viewers will be back again on this one. This is just the beginning. Namaskar.
Namaste.